Okay.
All right, good morning, everybody. Namaste. Let's start our Gita class today. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrit Varshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Am Tvam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini Namo te Vyas Vishal Buddhe Full Arvind Ayat Patra Netra येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः प्रपन्न पारिजाताये तोत्र वेत्र एक पानये ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत् वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकराद्रयोधन अवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन्नदी कैवर्तका केशवा पाराशर्ये वत्सरोजमलं गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरिकथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पे पिए मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदै सांग पद क्रम उपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थि तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुषुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. So we are on chapter 18, Moksha Sanyas Yoga. On the verse number 30, that's where we are going to start. We've been told that we constantly exercise our free will to make choices. And the cumulative choices determine where we reach in life. And today we're going to start that faculty in us which decides, which is called buddhi, the intellect. So we are free to choose, but what we choose, how we choose, is done by the intellect. So in verse number 30, it's a definition of a sattvic buddhi. So intellect can be sattvic, intellect can be rajasic, and it can be tamasic also. So 3 verses, let's look at them one by one. Pravritim cha navritim cha, karye akarye, bhay abhay, bandham moksham cha yaveti, buddhi sa parth sattviki. Pravritim, action, the path of work, what to do, pravriti. Cha means and, nivritim, the path of renunciation, what we should not do. Karya akarya, what ought to be done when and what ought not to be done. Bhay abhay, bhay is fear, abhay is fearlessness. Next line is bandham, bondage, moksham, liberation. Cha means and, ya means that, veti knows, buddhi, the intellect, understanding. Sa means that, Parth is Arjuna, Satviki, pure. Okay, so this great wisdom is given by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. Okay, and ultimately now to us. That which knows the paths of work and renunciation, what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, fear and fearlessness, bondage and renunciation, that intellect is sattvic, pure, O Parth. So it's like a best type of intellect is that which can discriminate among beings and situations in its field of activity. See, the intellect has various functions. Intellect observes, it analyzes, it classifies, it does the willing, wishing, remembering, a lot of other things too. So whatever I mentioned, in all of them, the faculty which is essential is intellect, the buddhi, power of discrimination. Without discrimination, neither observation nor classification, neither understanding nor judgment is ever possible. So all of this happens with the buddhi. So essentially, the function of intellect is discrimination. Or another way you can understand discrimination is the right understanding. Right. An understanding which is capable of clearly discriminating between the right field of pursuit and the wrong field of false propositions. That is the highest type of understanding. So that's why he said, ability to discriminate between actions that are to be pursued and the actions that are to be shunned. Pravritti and nivritti. So a sattvic buddhi always helps us to arrive at the correct judgment. We all know a person in a mood of anger or with a wounded vanity can suddenly resign his job and later on will regret. Or say something later on feels bad about it, but the words cannot be taken back because that intellect was not correct. And what is to be feared and what is not to be feared? Because there are certain things we should be afraid of. Right now, COVID. So when we are afraid of catching that virus, we'll make the right decisions. People who say, no, I'm not afraid of it, they will not follow the proper procedure. We all know that they, even if they don't get sick, they can make others sick. So a sattvic intelligence will know what to be feared from and what not to be feared from. There's a classic example of Lord Rama. The king of Lanka was very powerful. Far away also. In between India and Lanka, there was an ocean. But he showed his fearlessness and went there because he knew that I have to get Sita back. But on the other hand, when he brought Sita back and a dhobi, or the people started talking, as a king, he was afraid of that kind of a gossip, that kind of a talk. And as a king, what he needed to do, he did it. So what to be feared and what not to be feared, we learn it from great leaders. Sattvic intelligence gives us this understanding. Bondage and liberation. To observe and analyze ourselves with the required detachment, to evaluate critically our psychological behaviors, intellectual attitudes in life, it's not easy sometimes. It is possible only for those people who have cultivated a sattvic intellect. So cultivating the sattvic understanding, then we can diagnose what is creating further bondage for me, and then taking actions according to that. So if you want to summarize this verse, Lord Krishna is saying that sattvic buddhi is defined as one which makes known to us what type of work is to be done, what type of work is to be renounced, which really distinguishes from right from the wrong, which is to be feared and which is to be faced fearlessly. It really shows us the causes of our own present ugliness in life. And it also explains the remedies of all that too. So an intelligent which can discriminate properly, plan intelligently, execute diligently. In order to do all this, we need a sattvic intellect. So that kind of understanding is considered by Lord Krishna a sattvic buddhi. Okay. Now, what is a rajasic buddhi? See, for sattvic buddhi, clarity is there. Rajasic buddhi, that kind of a clarity is not there. This is number 31. That is a definition of a rajasic buddhi. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha akaryam ev cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sa parth rajasi. Yaya, by which? Dharmam adharmam. We are familiar with these two terms. Karyam, what ought to be done, akaryam, what ought not to be done. Ev means even, cha means and. Ayathavat, wrongly. Prajanati, understands. Buddhi is the intellect. And then Sir Parth Rajasi. So he's talking to Parth. He says that by which one wrongly understands. Okay, wrongly understands dharam and adharam. What is righteous and what is unrighteous. And also what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. So that means there's a little confusion in the mind. That intellect, O Parth, is Rajasic. Okay, so this Rajasic understanding, if a person has that, clarity is not there. It's almost like a slightly perverted manner. Thinking that I'm doing a dharma, righteous action, but actually it's unrighteous. So such a Rajasic understanding cannot reach right judgments because it's colored by its own preconceived notions. And Rajasic person has very strong likes and dislikes. So this really perversion comes from the attachment to certain things, certain outcomes. I want this result, so this must be right. Actually, it's not right. Okay. So Rajasic intellect becomes mixed due to the personal attachments. Remember that. So clarity goes away. Sometimes it does see clearly, but self-interest comes into play. It becomes tainted and confused. Example of this is there are people who are very competent in their professions. They make the right decisions over there. But when it comes to their relationships, familial relationships, they are utter failures. Okay? Because their attachment prevents them from proper perceptions. So what is tamasic then? Adharmam dharmam iti manyate tamsa avrita sarv arthan vipritan cha buddhi sa parth tamasi. So in tamasic intellect, the faculty of judgment and the ability for logical reasoning becomes lost. See, in Rajasic it was mixed. In Tamasic it's lost. So adharmam dharmam, unrighteous and righteous. Iti means that, ya means which. Manyate thinks. Tamsa in darkness, avrita enveloped. Sarv arthan all things. Vipritan perverted. Buddhi is the intellect. Sapartha tamasi. That which enveloped in darkness sees a dharam as a dharam. And all things perverted. That intellect of Parth is tamasic. Okay, so it's just like a seeing everything opposite. And this type of understanding will bring sorrow to everyone, including the individual himself. Actually, it's no understanding at all. It can be called a chronic bundle of misunderstandings. Because a person is just concluding by himself without any proper judgment. Wrong conclusions. Totally perverted understanding. Because when you think that, hey, you are doing, you imagine that it's a dharam, but actually it's a adharam. Their entire reasoning capacity is enveloped by complete darkness and egoistic drunkenness. Okay. So last time we talked about there is a inner strength which we all have, which is called dhriti. Dhriti is the inner strength of our mind and intellect, which can be called determination also. This strength keeps us on our path despite the difficulties and obstacles. Dhriti is what keeps our vision focused towards the goal. That's called a dhriti. So now Lord Krishna is telling us a sattvic dhriti, rajasic dhriti, and tamasic dhriti also. So let's look at the verse number 33, sattvic dhriti. Dhrityaha yaya dharyate manapran indriye kriya yogen avye vicharinaha dhriti sa parth satviki. Dhritya by firmness, yaya by which, dharyate holds, man pran indriye kriya the functions of the mind, the pran and the senses. Yogen by yoga, avya vicharnya unswerving. Again, dhriti is fortitude. Sa means that, Parth is Arjun, Satvaki, pure. The unswerving fortitude, by which through yoga, the functions of the mind, the pran, and the senses are restrained. That fortitude, O Parth, is Satvik. So that means a person knows that these are the equipments given to me. I need to control them. I need to restrain them. So when you have that kind of a firmness in your personality, that I want to control my mind, I want to control my pran, I want to control my senses. They are the horses in this vehicle which I'm living in. That is called a sattvic, sattvic dhriti, the unswerving fortitude. Again, I'll tell you that there's no correct English equivalent for the term dhriti. Even though sometimes we use the term steadiness, sometimes consistency, sometimes fortitude. We can use all these terms because different translators have used different terms, but they give incomplete understanding of this word. They show a point towards dhriti, but not complete. Even if you put all of them together, all these words which I just mentioned, still there's a shade less what dhriti really means. Okay, so dhriti is that power. Just remember, dhriti is that power within ourselves by which we constantly see the goal we want to achieve. And while striving towards it, dhriti discovers for us the necessary constancy of the purpose to stay on the path in spite of all the obstacles. There could be mounting obstacles on the way, but dhriti will not let you stop because of these obstacles. Okay, so dhriti maintains our vision on the goal, makes us steadily strive towards it. And when obstacles come, dhriti is the one which gives us a secret power within us to face them all courageously, steadily, heroically. That's what dhriti is. Okay, it's like a secret fire, in other words, which we all have. That is a glow of life. That's how the people have achieved spectacular achievements as human beings. Okay, so what is a sattvic then? Why there's a difference between sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic? So the subtle faculty of fortitude or dhriti, when we can analyze, classify, we see that there is a difference between a sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So definitely there's a constancy of purpose, but if the purpose is sattvic, that becomes a sattvic dhriti. So it all depends upon the purpose. But with the constancy with which we steadily control our mind, sense organs, and their activities through single pointed attention, faithful concentration upon the given point of contemplation, that is a sattvic dhriti. So it's like a steadfast willpower that develops inside us, learns to subdue the senses, discipline our life, moving towards the higher goal, that is sattvic. Okay? Because we know without fixing the mind upon something nobler and higher, we cannot detach our mind from the present pursuits. Got to keep that in mind. So that's why Lord Krishna insists that yoga is unavoidable. Unavoidable. So faithful contemplation of the self, faithful contemplation of the goal in life, only then mind will find that steadiness, peace, satisfaction. It will have a capacity to rule over the sense organs. Otherwise, the sense organs are so turbulent. They just want to go. They want to go into the sensuous pleasures. So that constancy a person has is a sattvic. Okay. So constancy in endeavor, consistency of purpose in the field of activity becomes sattvic. Okay. If we can control our mind also, control our senses also, we stay consistent also, and we keep the goal in our mind also. That's why he used the word yoga over here. Because yoga is the one, this one word yoga, it tells us clearly it's a union between I and the absolute. That's a yoga. So keeping that in mind, whatever needs to be done to achieve that. Okay, so that's sattvic. Now let's look at rajasic dhriti. Yaya tu dharma kam arthan dhritya dharyate arjun prasangen fal akankshi dhriti saparth rajasi. Yaya, by which? Tu means but, dharam kam arthan, duty, pleasure, and wealth. These are the first three goals of a life. Dharam, arth, and kam. Dhritya, by fortitude, dharyate, holds. Prasangen, from attachment. Fal akankshi, desirous of the fruits of actions. Dhriti is fortitude, rajasi. But the fortitude, O Arjuna, by which one holds fast to duty, pleasure, and wealth. So you can see that clearly the difference between sattvic and rajasic dhriti is firmness is there, consistency and the constancy is there, but goal is different. So sattvic dhriti is when the goal is yoga. Rajasic dhriti is sure a person is striving, staying consistent and constant also, but goal is lower level. Dharam, calm, and earth. So, but the fortitude of Arjuna by which one holds fast to duty, pleasure, and wealth, from attachment and craving for the fruits of actions. Karam Phal. That fortitude of Parth is Rajasic. So a person holds fast to Dharam. Somebody will say, what's wrong in it? But remember, continuation of that is craving for the fruits of actions and from attachment. Okay, there's nothing wrong in a duty. Duty, even a sattvic person does. But a rajasic person is doing the duty, I am doing it. And I should get the fruit of it. Sattvic does it because it's I'm here. I have gotten so much from the nature, I'm supposed to give back also. While moving towards the ultimate goal. That's the difference. Okay, so desire to enjoy the fruit of each of them, whether it's a dharma, whether it's a kam, or whether it's a artha. Remember that. Sattvic doesn't have that. It's not that he doesn't enjoy the fruit, but in his mind is not the fruit. It's very interesting to note here that Lord Krishna is avoiding the moksha over here because the fourth goal of life is moksha. So Rajasic person doesn't have the moksha in mind. And moksha is the one which Sattvic has in mind, which is yoga. Okay, so only the first three of the four purushas. So Rajasic person is satisfied with the other fields of self-effort and has no demand for spiritual liberation. He doesn't want to talk about it. So the constancy of pursuit of such an individual will be in these three fields of duty, wealth, and pleasure, and definitely an extreme desire to enjoy the resultant satisfaction. He follows dharam only to gain heavens. He pursues earth so that he may have power in this life. And he pursues calm with a firm belief and faith that sensuous objects can give him the satisfaction in life. So the determination fueled by the desires for enjoying rewards is Rajasic. And we all know that worldly minded people are also staunchly determined in their pursuits. They are focused on enjoying sensuous pleasures, acquiring wealth. So this makes it Rajasic Dhriti. So they do have a Dhriti. Dhriti is in all of them. Right? Dhriti used for what? It's almost like a knife in a person's hand, used for what? And now let's look at the same kind of a constancy in the purpose in the unintelligent and ignorant person. Extremely. That's a tamasic. Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madam evcha na vipuchanti durmedha dhriti sa parth tamasi. Yaya, by which swapnam, sleep or dream, bhayam, fear, shokam, grief, vishadam, depression, madam, arrogance, conceit, ev means indeed, cha means and, na is not, vi munchati, abundance, durmedha, a stupid man, dhriti, fortitude, tamsi is tamsi. The constancy because of which a stupid person does not abandon sleep, fear, grief, depression, and also arrogance. So there are 5 terms he's using over here. Swapan, bhay, shok, vishad, mad. That fortitude of Parth is tamasic. So steadiness of the purpose is there. A person is not giving up. He's not giving up. He's not giving up the arrogance. He's not giving up the depression. He doesn't want to give up the grief. He does not want to give up the fear. So firmness is there. So let's look at the Swapan word first. Swapan term is used over here for fancied imaginations which are thrown up by a mind that's almost drowned in sleep. It's almost like things which are not there, but imagining that it's there. It's like a delusory projected ideas. Your own fancy. You don't want to give that up. So the tamasic personalities project upon the world of objects a dream-like value of reality. It's like a false joy. And laboriously they will strive to have that. So that's what Swapan means over here. Doesn't exist, but they keep on imagining. No, I might have. I did not get pleasure from this place. Maybe in the next one I will. Okay. Or maybe from this person, I could not get satisfaction. Maybe next one. Keep on moving like that. That's a fancy. That's, he's calling it tamasic. So false joy and a dream-like value of reality. The second term he used over there, bhaya, fear. Because a person, a tamasic person will have a fancied fear of future. What if? Things come and go, they pass. Some of the things which you project, it will not come. Some of the things we are fearful of, they will not come. But we destroy our current equilibrium. We destroy our current peacefulness. That is tamasic. See, some people are victims of a fear complex. So they really hold on to that. It's like an inseparable part of their personality. So this constancy and the consistency and the firmness, they hold on to this. They'll even say, no, I have this phobia. Instead of working on it, letting it go, they just want to strengthen it more and more. I'm afraid of darkness. I'm afraid of height. I'm afraid of water. Complexes. They make a life a living hell because they cling to some past loss also sometimes. Refuse to let go of it. So when you refuse to let go of something, you need some kind of a firmness in you. And that's what dhriti is, tamsik dhriti. So a person does not see the ruinous impact. In childhood, something happened. No, I want to keep on remembering it. That's tamsik. Okay. So determination based upon such a stubborn clinging, because it's a stubbornness in the personality, and which gives the unproductive thoughts. Because what do you lose? You lose the balance, you lose the poise, you lose the peace in the present. So psychologically, they are victims of a fear complex. And very interesting to note that with a great tenacity, these people hug onto these complexes. They find some kind of a identification with that. But it's a tamasic identification. And the next word he used, shok, vishad, mad, these three. These again are great channels through which human vitality gets dissipated. Grief, see, shok is grief, vishad is depression, and mad is arrogance. We just lose our power. A person of extreme dullness will constantly keep these three within his mind. And outcome of that is what? Depletion and inner exhaustion of energy. They just keep on feeling very tired. Physically, they are not doing anything, but they still feel very tired. What is a shok, the grief? Definition of grief is, in general, the painful feeling of disappointment at something that has already happened in the past. That's a grief. The painful feeling of disappointment at something that has already happened in the past. So it happened, but you keep on feeling the pain. So it has to do with the past. And what is a depression? Vishad, depression. Depression generally reaches as a result of our despair regarding the future. What will happen? That's why in the very first chapter, Arjun was a Vishadi. What will happen? It was not about the past. His mind came into that state of being that if I kill my grandfather, my teacher, my cousins, my uncles, my in-laws, what will happen to me? So that's why generally Vishad is a result of our despair regarding the future. And what is Mad, arrogance? Arrogance is the sense of lusty conceit, with which a foolish person lives his immoral life, a low life, and becomes a prison to it. Arrogance. So that's why Lord Krishna is mentioning these 5 in this small verse, 2 lines. 5 values of life. And he says if a person who lives by these 5 values, he is a fool. Durbedha. And the constancy with which such a fool follows his life is a tamsik dhriti. Doesn't want to let go of the fear, doesn't want to let go of the arrogance, doesn't want to let go of the depression, doesn't want to let go of the swapan, just fanciful living. So 5 of them, just remember these 5. Okay? So dreams, fears, griefs, despondency, arrogance, passion, all of that. In the next segment, Lord Krishna is talking about what really motivates us to do the action, because all of this is about the action, the karam. In order to do the karam, we need the dhriti also. In order to do the karam, we need the intellect also. We need the body also. Okay, that's why he's opening it up for us. But there is a one reason why we do the karam. All of us, from Brahma all the way down to a little insect. The reason we do karam is for one thing only: happiness. Happiness. We all want to be happy. Nobody will do anything to feel miserable. Even though they feel miserable, because of the dhriti is tamsik, if the intellect is rajsik, if it's not a sattvic through and through, sure, misery comes. But the motivation behind the action is always happiness. So that's why Lord Krishna is opening it up for us. The sattvic happiness, the rajasic happiness, and the tamasic happiness also. I would like you to go back a few verses this week. Just look at it. How does it really, how do you understand it? Does it make sense or not? The constituents of the actions, the factors that motivate us or control our actions before we really go into the goal of the action. So this is the goal of the action, the sukh. All of this is beautifully connected together. So let's look at number 36 and then we'll stop, because over here he is just telling us what he's going to tell us in the verse number 37. That's where the sattvic sukh is. Okay. So sukham tu idanim trividham shrinu me bharat rishab abhyasat ramate yatra dukhantam cha nigachati. Sukham, pleasure. Tu means indeed. Idanim, now. Trividham, threefold. Shrino, here. Me means of me. Bharat Rishab, the Lord of Bharats. Abhyasat, from practice. Ramate, rejoices. Yatra means in which. Dukhantam, the end of pain. Ant means end, dukh means pain. End of pain. Nigachati, he attains to. And now, hear from me, O best among the Bharats, of the threefold pleasure in which one rejoices by practice and surely comes to the end of pain. Okay, there's a very logical thought development in this chapter. And that's why I'm telling you to go back and look at the 3 factors that constitute the impulse of action: the knowledge, the actor, and the action. You remember that? And afterwards, the very motive forces in all activity, which really propel the activity, which he mentioned in the verses which we discussed today, buddhi and dhriti. Because every actor acts in his field, guided by his buddhi, ruled by his understanding, maintained by his fortitude, dhriti. See, maintenance of that action is with that dhriti. So he has dissected it for us so that we can observe it, because we all go through it all day long. So anatomy and the physiology of work, he has explained it to us. But now in the next 3 verses, psychology of work. Why do we act? Why does a person act? The ultimate motive behind people's action is search for happiness. Even when somebody is crying, if you ask that person, why are you crying? It gives a certain kind of a satisfaction. The tears are also because of that. Okay? So everyone desires to be happy through their actions. They seek fulfillment, peace, and satisfaction. But we have seen that everybody's actions are different. Their constituent factors are different. So of course, the kind of a happiness will be different too. Even though we want happiness, but the kind of a happiness is different. So that's why next 3 verses, he's going to open it for us. 3 kinds of happiness. Okay, so, but craving for happiness is for all of us. So let's stop it here. If anybody has a question, comment, or something you did not understand, some words you would like to.
Harji,
Yes.
ये जो आपने बता, you just talk about dharam, arth, and karam.
Kam.
I'm sorry, kam.
Not karam. Dharam, arth, kam. These are the, out of the 4 goals of life. There are 4 goals of life.
So arth and kam, they are very close to each other? No.
No. Arth is, arth means the wealth.
Oh, okay. And
Means, see, with the earth is anything you need to fulfill your desires. That's
right, like money. But
yeah, calm is the, it could be money, it could be, see, earth, right now for me, in order to teach, this computer is earth.
Any calm.
Calm is desires, fulfillment of the desires is called calm. Because we are all in this body, because we have certain desires. So ultimately, to attain the 4th goal in life, we got to finish the calm. So they are all connected, all 4. But a Rajasic person is more into just dharam, earth, and calm.
But you just said 3, dharam, karam, and earth.
No, not karam. Oh, dharam, earth, and calm.
Okay.
And then 4th is moksha.
Oh, moksha.
Moksha is the ultimate goal. That sattvic person is keeping that in mind. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I had a question, Ma.
Yes,
आपने बोला the 3 impulses. The one was guided by intellect, ruled by understanding, and third was what?
See, 3 impulses are the knowledge.
Okay.
The actor who's doing it, and the action.
Karam. Okay.
Action is done too. Okay. And we talked about it in the earlier verses also. Go back. That's why I said it's very important. Sometimes all these terms, they just become a mumbo jumbo in our mind, that he's talking, he's giving us so much. But if you go back and try to have your own flow chart, then it will be very clear.
Okay.
Because this is all what's happening in our life all the time. And he is giving us by categories over here so that we can fall in the category of the sattvic, the pure. Pure knowledge, pure action, pure doer, pure intellect, pure dhriti. And now he will tell us the pure happiness also. Okay, so this is what we can do. Just become more and more sattvic, and then ultimately go beyond sattvikta. That will happen automatically. That is the grace of God.
Nirja
Thank
has
you.
a question, Hershey.
Yes, Jyoti?
Nirja has a question. Nirja?
Yes, Nirja.
Namaskar, Hershey.
Namaskar.
So this is all leading to the connection between I and the absolute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you said in 32 or 33, that's what it is.
Yes, yes, definitely. All of this, because we are in a karam yoni. Okay, we cannot say we don't want to do karam. Throughout Lord Krishna been talking about karam, we must do. But how to do the karam so that we become a karmi and connect with him.
Okay.
Okay. It's not by giving up the karam, but by doing the karam the right way.
Okay. Near the end of the class, I want to discuss something. I need little more clearance.
Okay, sure, we can do that after everybody's gone. We can do that. Okay,
Thank you.
meanwhile, if nobody else has a question, I would request Manny to sing a bhajan today.
Okay, today's bhajan is a devotee asking for grace of God. He's trying to meditate but cannot connect. Monkey mind makes him drift around. But he wants to be a good devotee, and his goal is, God, I want to become so good so at the time of my leaving this body, I see only you in front of me. प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की, जरा धूल जो मिल जाए, मैं सच कहता हूँ भगवन, मैं सच कहता हूँ भगवन, तकदीर बदल जाए, प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की, सुनते हैं तेरी रहमत, दिन रात बरसती है, सुनते हैं तेरी रहमत, दिन रात बरसती है, एक बूंद जो मिल जाए, एक बूंद जो मिल जाए, तकदीर संवर जाए, प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की, ये मन बड़ा चंचल है, कैसे तेरा भजन करूं, ये मन बड़ा चंचल है, कैसे तेरा भजन करूं, जितना इसे समझाऊं, जितना इसे समझाऊं, उतना ही मचल जाए, प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की, जरा धूल जो मिल जाए, प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, नजरों से गिराना ना, चाहे जितनी सजा देना, नजरों से गिराना ना, चाहे जितनी सजा देना, नजरों से जो गिर जाए, मुश्किल है संभल पाए। प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की, जरा धूल जो मिल जाए। प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की। प्रभु जी इस जीवन की बस एक ही तमन्ना है। प्रभु जी इस जीवन की बस एक ही तमन्ना है। तुम सामने हो मेरे, तुम सामने हो मेरे, मेरे प्राण निकल जाए। प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की, जरा धूल जो मिल जाए। मैं सच कहता हूँ भगवन, मैं सच कहता हूँ भगवन, तकदीर संवर जाए। प्रभु जी तेरे चरणों की, गुरु जी तेरे चरणों की।
Thank you very much, Manny. Beautiful.